Hello and welcome to the DSP Project. I'm your host Rupert Brown, and today I'm going to be talking about the Novation Launchpad again. Now, I've already done a video comparing the Launchpad versus the APC-40, and that was a very popular video. A lot of you really liked it, and thank you for all those with the kind comments about that particular video. But I know some people were critical of it because it only had the stock footage of the unit in there. There was no actual hands-on video. I'm sorry about that, but that was when I recorded that video. The Launchpad had literally just come out, and that was like the only footage there was, and I didn't have one, so I made do. However, luckily now the good people at Novation have sent me a nice Launchpad to play with. So I thought rather than just doing a review on this, it would be more beneficial to try and get some tutorials done. So in this video I'm just going to be talking about the basics of the different modes and how it works to give you a good solid idea of how it does work. I have found in the past with some grid-based controllers, you get the manufacturers put out videos that look really cool. You have people doing impressive things and pushing buttons and great sounds coming out, but it's very hard to understand what's actually going on. So I'm going to try and make this nice and clear so you can get a good understanding of how it works. Then in later videos I will hopefully dive a little bit deeper and try and figure out some of the more interesting stuff you can do with it. So let's get started. Okay, so here we have the Launchpad. Now there's four main modes. There's Session, User 1, User 2 and Mixer. So I'll start off explaining the session mode. So that's what I've got highlighted here. This is the Session button. But essentially all of these buttons here, this 8x8 grid, is represented on my screen by that yellow box that you can see there. So there's an 8x8 clip grid there. And where I've got, and for each slot that I've got a clip loaded in, I've got one of these little amber pads here. So far, so good. Now we've also got a little up, down and left to right arrows, and you'll see when I move that up and down, the little yellow box moves up and down on the screen, but so do the little backlit LED lights, so I can see exactly where I am and where I've got clips loaded. Now the clips are amber when they're loaded, they're green when they play, and then also red when you're recording. I haven't got any loaded in here, but you're going to have to trust me on that one. Also on the session view, you've got clip launch buttons down the side here. So if you want to launch a whole row here, you just push the clip launch button, and that will fire them off. And I'm just hitting empty slots there to stop the units. The only other thing on the session view is if you hold down the session button, you can move your little yellow box around in sort of steps of 8 by 8, and so the red box is just showing me that there's actually something going on, that there's some clips inside of that 8 by 8 set. So that's a nice quick way, and then just release the session button and then you're back to the main session view, and it's about as simple as that. Okay, moving over to the mixer view, if we push that there. Now how this first screen works is this first set of four in green here are resets. So you'll notice some are brighter than the others. That shows me that the parameter isn't set at 0. So the first row is volumes, next row is pans, then send A and send B. So if I just quickly move, I'm going to move some of the send Bs with the mouse, and you'll see that these will start lighting up as I move them. Okay, so because they're lit up, that shows me that this parameter is not at 0, and hitting it resets the values back to 0 again. Moving down, we have the stop button. So you've got for each track there, you've got a stop button, or the scene launch gives us like a stop all clips. Moving down, we have the track on buttons, so we can turn the tracks off, and then scene launch works as a reset to turn them all back on again. We have next line down is solo buttons, and if you want to solo more than one clip at a time, you can hold down the first button and push multiple keys. That's just an Ableton Live thing, that's not Launchpad specific, so you'll be able to do that with your controller at home, and the scene launch resets that. And finally we have the record buttons there, and again the scene launch resets it. Finally, we have these 4 scene launchers here, which bring us to the the actual mixer section. So the first scene launcher is volume, and so we've got all of our 8 tracks laid out this way, and we can use the buttons as a a rudimentary fader. As I was saying in my other video, you can sort of use them to cut in and out between high and low values. So that's kind of cool. And moving down, we have pan, so left, right, left, fine. And send A works just the same as the volumes. Basically, you can that's full, that's nothing, and send B is the same sort of thing again. So if we hop over to our mixer, we can see we've got all these bright LEDs because we've turned all of the turn the sends on and turn the pans on. So by hitting all of those, I now know that it's all reset nicely, and that is basically the mixer section. So now I want to talk about the user modes, user mode 1 and 2. Now the user modes are set up to be fairly configurable. You can set them how you want. User mode 1, you've got all your notes which sort of run up in a set of 4 like this, which is ideally designed for drum racks. So for instance, I've got a drum rack on channel 7 there, so if I hop over to my mixer and I arm the 7th channel, jump back to user mode 1, and I should have a drum rack there, so you can kind of knock in like a quick pattern, and it's fairly responsive too. So yeah, that works fine. The other part with the user mode 1, as I was saying, the note sections run up like that, so you can actually use it for inputting note data. So I've got an instance of Alchemy loaded into track 8, so mixer mode, I've hit the record arm on track 8, so now if we jump back to our user mode 1, it should now control the so it's actually kind of an interesting way of sequencing note data, because it's it's a different look than using a keyboard. I found it kind of interesting. It's a bit of a fresh look to inputting notes. So that's user mode 1. User mode 2, we're sort of working more in horizontal columns. So if I on the screen here, I've got on this little synth line here. If I pop it open for you, I've put a filter on there, and so that can be you can use that to either slide it back and forth like a slider, or you can use the pads to jump around the values like that, and that's basically the user 2. So that's the basics of the Novation Launchpad. If you're interested in learning more, I will be doing more in-depth tutorials in the future. So head down to our website, theDSPproject.com, if you're not already here, and please subscribe and make sure you don't miss out on those. Finally, you can send me an email direct to inbox@theDSPproject.com. If you have any tips or tricks on the Launchpad that you think everyone should know about, please send me an email, or possibly there's something you're trying to do that I might be able to help you with. That would be great. And also thank you to all of you who have already taken time to write to me. It's really great, and it really means a lot to me hearing all of your lovely support. So that's all we've got time for today. Join us next time where we will be talking about something else.